Hello and welcome, this is Eric from AG Racing Central. I was browsing through the new games on PlayStation Store, as I do sometimes, never really hoping to find a new Antigravity Racing game, as I figured I would have probably heard about those. As some kind of ironic gesture by the universe, I actually found a new Antigravity Racing game called Antigravity Racing. I felt like it was my duty to check this one out. Let's get started. The problem with a title like Antigravity Racing is that it's so generic, it's borderline impossible to find any information about the game whatsoever, as Googling the title takes you to all kinds of anti-gravity racing content, except for content about the game that is actually called Antigravity Racing. Now though, a couple of weeks after release, I saw that Google has finally added an info tab when you search for the game, and a review or two is up as well. On release, there was however very little info and no gameplay trailer in PlayStation Store either, so I was kind of in the dark except for a couple of screenshots. Since the game was only $10, I decided to buy it and in worst case scenario, take one for the team. Booting up this game was a bit strange. No tutorial, no options menu, no control prompts, just a big button that said race and one track to choose from. On said track, your opponents disappeared into distance, never to be seen again until they overtook you after having managed to get an entire lap ahead of you, and I crossed the finish line in last place, wondering what was going on. However, just finishing a race in Antigravity Racing grants you some credits that can then be used to upgrade your craft or buy entirely new ones. After upgrading the speed and turning of the initial ship, it was all of a sudden possible to run the same race again without finishing last. Finishing in third place or above grants you one or more stars for that particular event, which in turn unlocks new tracks. You can then run those tracks a couple of times, as the first time you reach a new lap record or a higher top position than before, you are rewarded with some extra credits, making the progression a bit faster. Yes, this game is a bit grindy, which we'll get to in a bit. For even more credits, you can unlock entirely new ships. Most of the ones you can buy surpass the one you're given at the beginning of the game, but it's certainly not a linear progression to more and more powerful ships, as they all have different starting and maximum stats. This means that a brand new ship might be less powerful than an upgraded one you already own, meaning you have to grind out some extra credits to be able to afford upgrading your new ship too. So how does the game play? Quite good actually. The controls are for the most part responsive and tight, and the bare bones graphics doesn't stop the environment surrounding the tracks from being varied and detailed. The tracks themselves are also well designed, be it a bit bland after a while, but memorizing where the speed pads are more important than ever, since there are so few of them and the boost you're given when driving over them lasts much longer than in other similar titles. The weapon pickups consist exclusively of a homing missile and a machine gun. Each missile pickup grants you a single homing missile, and each pick of the machine gun gives you 50 rounds that also stack up to 100. As long as you have bullets left, you can't pick up a missile either. This creates a bit of strategy, since the missile is an almost guaranteed hit that slows your opponent down for an easy overtake. To achieve the same thing with the machine gun, several hits are required that also have to be manually aimed. However, the machine gun gives you potential of hitting several more opponents than could have been possible with the missiles. Add to this that you often have to choose between a weapon pickup and a speed pad, and there are even more things to consider during a race. Here though is where the depth ends and Antigravity Racing's problems begin to present themselves. It's obvious the developer went for a minimalistic design both when it comes to graphics and gameplay. The controls are solid but also very shallow. There are no air brakes, no boosting or resource management. Apparently there's a stat related to drifting, but to be honest I haven't figured out how it's implied. The progression in the game is also not very related to your improved skills as a pilot, but rather your ship's improved stats as a result of upgrades. It is fun to suddenly be able to compete in a race that was previously impossible to win, but it's not the same thrilling sensation as when you master side shifting in Wipeout Omega Collection or strafing in Redout 2. I do however like the different ships' variety in attributes and looks, and for what the developer Kistler Studios wanted to achieve overall, I think they succeeded. Antigravity Racing is a solid, cheap game, and although it is a bit grindy, there is at least some enjoyment to be had here. Just don't expect the same depth as many other great AG racers out there. When it comes to the price, $10 can't really be said to be expensive considering what's on offer here, but taking into account that games like Redout 2, Wipeout Omega Collection and Warp Drive cost around $20 when on sale, arguments can be made to go for those much more comprehensive experiences instead. Speaking of Redout 2, if that's a game you're interested in, you may want to check out my video about 5 reasons why you should try it. Thank you very much for watching. This is Eric from AG Racing Central, and I'll see you in the next video.